So lately, I've been having a lot of students come up to me and be like, I have no idea how to do dimensional analysis. This doesn't make sense. How do I go from moles to atoms or moles to grams or grams to moles or grams to atoms? And they get all frazzled. And so in this video, I'm going to be showing you my pro tip and tricks to help you through this. It's not that bad, I promise. And I'm going to show you step by step what to do. So if they give you moles to atoms, okay, let's say you have 30 moles of carbon, of helium, of whatever, it doesn't matter. What you're going to do when you're going from moles to atoms is that you're going to have to know that in 1 mole, you have 6.022 times 10 to the 23 atoms. And don't get caught up on the E. Again, E just means times 10 to the power of. So again, it would be the same thing as this, okay? I just, again, use E because it's easier for me when writing. Another thing is, if you're in high school, you're probably using 6 times 10 to the 23. In college or university, we use 6.022 times 10 to the 23. Again, check with your teacher, your professor, what number they want you to use. But again, usually it's going to be 6.022 times 10 to the 23. Well, that's pro tip number 1. Pro tip number 2 is that you need to know that if you have something in the numerator, it cancels in the denominator. In other words, my moles here is going to cancel with my moles here, and I'm going to be left with atoms in this case. If I had this backwards, if I had the 6.022 times 1023 on the bottom and 1 mole on the top, I would end up with a mole squared because both moles would be in the numerator. So don't do that. Make sure that what you have in the numerator cancels with the denominator and you're left with whatever you're looking for. Again, in this case, my moles here cancels with my moles here, and I'm left with my atoms, which again is what I'm looking for in this problem. And if you do the math, you're going to end up with 1.807 times 10 to the 25 atoms. Now, another thing I see with students is they get really freaked out when they see molecules. You're not changing anything. Again, you're still going to use Avogadro's number. So again, you're going to still use 6.022 times 10 to 23, and instead of atoms, it's going to be molecules, and voila, you have the same answer. And again, it's just molecules. Now, how do you go from atoms to molecules? Again, if you have what you have in the numerator, it cancels with the denominator, and you're left with what you want. So in this case, my atoms is going to cancel with my atoms here with Avogadro's number, and I'm going to be left with my moles. And again, I'm using the same numbers, it's going to be 30 moles. Again, my atoms cancel with my atoms, and I'm left with moles, which is what I'm looking for. Okay? And again, if you see MOL, I mean, you can literally spell out MOLES, moles. Again, it's just when you are in a time crunch on an exam, you sometimes don't want to write the whole thing out. So sometimes you will see people write MOL. And again, that's standing for moles. Now, let's go to a more complicated type of problem. Let's say you need to go from grams to atoms. And people freak out because they're like, oh my God, that's so much work. What am I going to do? Take it one step at a time. So if you have 30 grams of carbon, okay, go to the periodic table. How many grams of carbon do you have? Okay, well, you have 12.011 grams of carbon in 1 mole of carbon. So there you go. Okay, how did we say that we go from moles to atoms? Well, in 1 mole, you have 6.022 times 10 to the 23 atoms. Okay, so let's do that. So this problem, I'm going to break it into 2 steps. Again, in the calculator, you just do 30 divided by 12.011 times 6.022 times 10 to the 23. But I'm going to show you how you can see it on paper if you want to take it one step at a time. But again, you don't have to break it up. I'm just showing you for the point of this video to help students feel more comfortable with dimensional analysis. So again, in the first step, I have 30 grams of carbon. Then I have 12.011 grams again of carbon in 1 mole of carbon. And that's going to give me this amount of moles of carbon. Okay, again, my grams here cancel with my grams here, and I'm left with my moles. Okay, that's my first step. Now with those moles, I'm going to use, and I'm going to say, well, in 1 mole, I have times 6.022 times 10 to the 23. I'm going to multiply those two, and I'm going to get my atoms. Again, my moles here cancel with my moles here, and I'm left with atoms, which again is what I wanted and what I was looking for in the problem. So again, in the calculator, what am I going to do? 30 divided by 12.011, I get my answer, which is 2.4977, and then I multiply by 6.022 times 10 to the 23. You can also do 6.022 e to the 23 in your calculator. Again, if you enjoy this video, it takes time to create this content, so please follow, like, share, and thanks again for watching.